Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Friday, October 23rd, 2020. Today I'm going to recap the Thursday night football game between the Giants and the Eagles, the college football game in the Sun Belt last night between Arkansas State and App State, and pick the games in college football and the NFL. World Series will preview tonight's game and games 4 and 5 as well, and predict how the rest of the series is going to go until possibly Monday, or whether if it's going to end or not. NASCAR will preview and predict the races from Texas. We'll talk a little debate too, and the props DraftKings and FanDuel had out on their respective debate games, and my Fab 5 and best bet of the day. All right, we'll start with Thursday night football. Ugly game, and the Eagles came out on top 22-21. Phillies 2-4-1, Giants 1-6. Carson Wentz 25 of 43, 359 yards, 2 touchdowns in the pick. Daniel Jones, 20 of 30, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns in the pick. If Evan Engram catches that pass, we're talking about a Giants win, and everybody's mocking the Philadelphia Eagles this morning. But no, Evan Engram drops the pass. Carson Wentz and Eagles take advantage as they come back from 11 down, 5:40 to go to win this game. I think the Eagles are the best team in the division. They should win this at 9-7. They would have beaten the Ravens last week had they had the receivers healthy. You could arguably say they should have beaten the Steelers. They probably would have beaten Washington in week 1 had their receivers been healthy. And I think that's the story of the Eagles season. Had their receivers been healthy, ... And then finally they get Jackson back, but he only had an impact in like the first half. And then the rest of it was Fulgham and Richard Rodgers who stepped up, and Boston Scott as well. So I think the Eagles are probably going to win this division, and they're going to perhaps do it easily because I don't trust Andy Dalton when push comes to shove, especially in a primetime game. And the Giants and the Redskins are horrible. That's just the bottom line. And now I'm going to look ahead to the games for the weekend in the NFL. Normally I do the college game first, then the NFL, but the way this podcast shakes out, I'm going to do the NFL first and then college football. So first up you have the Bills and the Jets. The Jets are getting 12 over under 45. I am going to take the over here at 45. I project the total of this game to be 50, and I project Buffalo to be giving 10. And I have a big edge here on the over in this game, so give me over 45 in Bills-Jets. Panthers-Saints. Saints giving 7.5 over under 51. I project this to be New Orleans by 7, total 53.5. I'm going to take the over here as well at 51.5. No, Christian McCaffrey is still an issue, but Mike Davis has stepped up nicely for Carolina. Michael Thomas back for New Orleans. I think this is a shootout, and the Saints will win this game. And I obviously think that the Bills will beat the Jets on Sunday as well. Browns-Bengals. Browns giving 3.5 over under 50.5. I project Cleveland by 4, total 53. I'm taking another over. These lines are about correct in my mind. I think that the Cleveland offense will bounce back against a weaker Bengals defense. I think that Baker Mayfield has heard a lot of heat and undeserved heat over the last week because I just don't think he's healthy. That's not fair on Baker Mayfield. He's not healthy. And even with that, the Browns are 4-2. I think it's a good bounce back opportunity for the Browns. I don't know if they'll cover the 3.5, maybe not. I expect them to win the game, but I do think the total will go over 50.5 in doing so. I could see Cleveland winning this game like 30-24. Next up, Dallas at the Washington Professional Football Team. Dallas is giving 1 over under 46. I'd make this Dallas 1, total 57. This is another over. I absolutely love this over. I think that my projection of 57 is kind of off due to the Dak Prescott injury and the drop-off as we saw on Monday night. But maybe that's an overreaction, which I think there's a good chance it is because we all know Andy Dalton's history in primetime versus the 1 o'clock window. And he always plays well in the 1 o'clock window. It's like Kirk Cousins in a way, except I think Kirk Cousins is better than Andy Dalton. So, I absolutely love the over. I think Dallas wins this game, something like 30-20, maybe 27-23. I mean, I think there's easily 50 points in this ball game. So, give me the over in that matchup in the NFC East. All right, next up you have the Lions at the Falcons. Falcons are giving 2, total 54.5. I have Atlanta by 2, total 56.5. So this is going to be another over. This has shootout written all over it. These are 2 really bad teams in my mind too. If I had to make a pick at gunpoint, I would take the Lions because I just don't trust Atlanta, even though they have a new coach. Now, last week was the classic new coach kick butt performance like the Texans had a couple weeks ago. So, I just think the Falcons still stink, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's last quarterback with the ball wins, and I think that'll be Matthew Stafford. So, just to be safe, I'm going to take over 54.5. I think the line's just about correct. Green Bay at Houston. Green Bay's giving 3.5, over under 57. I make this Green Bay 3.5, total 57.5. I have no choice but to take the over. No choice. Because my projections are about correct here. I hate this. I really hate that the market is agreeing with me. I hate it. But at gunpoint, who's going to win the game? Green Bay, bounce back spot, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers will not play as bad as he did against the Bucs for the rest of the season. I'm pretty confident in that. And part of that is why I like the over, and I think Deshaun can go toe-to-toe with Rodgers. So, give me over 57. Green Bay wins a close one. Best game of the weekend in the NFL. 2 undefeateds, 2 5-0s. You got the Steelers at the Titans. Titans giving 1.5, over under 50.5. I'd make this Steelers by 2.5, total 54. I'm taking my first side, and that side is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just think they're better than Tennessee. They have a better defense than Tennessee, since the loss of Devin Bush. This game will really learn whether the loss of Devin Bush will really matter or not, because this is a huge game for Pittsburgh. And win or lose, we'll learn. If Pittsburgh wins, say, 38-34, then people are saying, well, Devin Bush, they'll miss him, and they had to outscore Tennessee. I think that they'll have to outscore Tennessee to win this game, too. I think they can. Chase Claypool's been a diamond in the rough rookie that they found. Maybe their tight ends get more involved in this matchup. Maybe I could see James Conner going off. I could see Benny Snell maybe having himself a nice day. I like the over 50.5 as well. I'll probably bet it. But I'm going to, just to be different here, I'm going to take the Steelers money line plus 104, and I'll take them at plus 1.5 as well to give the Titans their first loss. Bucks Raiders. Bucks giving 4.5, over under 52.5. Now I'm in the 4 o'clock window. They moved this game to the 4 o'clock window and Seahawks Cardinals to the Sunday night game because the Raiders have some COVID issues. A lot of their offensive line has been near people with COVID. So 5 linemen for the Raiders, maybe it's 4, are on the COVID reserve list. So the Bucks are giving 4.5, over under 52.5. I would make Tampa Bay 4.5, total 55. Another day, another over. Yet again, Vegas is correct on a line. I could see this being a shootout as well. Tom Brady is starting to look like Tom Brady again. And you're seeing bits and more of it each week. Even with the COVID issues with the Raiders, I could still see this game going over. And I think that the Bucs will probably win this game comfortably. Next up, you have the Jaguars at the Chargers. The Chargers are giving 7.5, over under 49. I'd make this Chargers by 5, total 49. I have no choice but to play the Jaguars here. As much as I like Justin Herbert and I like this Chargers team, despite them being 1-4, I think they're overvalued here. So give me the Jaguars plus 7.5. I still expect the Chargers to win the game, but I just think it's close. I know it bit me in the ass taking Jacksonville last week. Jacksonville probably is as bad as we thought they were, but they threw us off in week number 1 because they knocked off the Colts. So give me Jaguars plus 7.5, but I do think that the Chargers will win the game. Close. Chiefs at the Broncos. Chiefs giving 9.5, over under 45.5. I would make Kansas City by 4, total 47. I love the Broncos getting the points. Love it. They won't win, but I just think they cover that number. I think that offense can play better than it did against the Patriots. They're a bad red zone team. I think that will get better. Maybe they get guys back for this game. Maybe not. And I think that this is a much closer game than that 9.5 suggests. Sunday afternoon as well. 49ers at the Patriots. Pats giving 2.5, over under 43.5. I'd make this Niners by 3, total 45. I love the Niners getting the 2.5. Money line is plus 114. I absolutely love it. So give me the Niners here to win outright in Foxborough against the Patriots, as the Pats will drop to 2-4. And the 49ers are turning their season around. Sunday night football, you have the Seahawks and the Cardinals. Seahawks giving 3.5, over under 55.5. I'd make Seattle a half-point favorite and the total 53.5. I love the Cardinals getting the points. Love it. Absolutely love it. I think that they can win the game outright and hand Seattle their first loss. I think Kyler Murray can go toe-to-toe with Russell Wilson. The Seahawks defense is horrible. I could see Kyler doing what he did to Dallas. I could see what he did to Dallas to Seattle's D. Maybe Jamal Adams is back. That will help him if he is, but help the Seahawks, but I really love Arizona getting the 3.5, and I think that there's a good chance they hand Seattle their first loss of 2020, of the 2020 season, I should say. Their first loss of the year 2020 was the playoff loss against the Packers, but what I mean is their first loss of the 2020 season. Now I'm going to look back on yesterday's college football game and look ahead to the rest of the slate. App State destroys Arkansas State 45-17. App State covers easily, so my projected number was way off. App State's 3-1. Arkansas State's 3-3. The quarterback for App State, Zach Thomas, was brilliant. 16-23, 216 yards for touchdowns and a pick. And Lane Hatcher, 9-16, 178 yards and an interception. Classic letdown for Arkansas State after last week's performance. And now looking ahead to tonight and the rest of the weekend. First up, you have Jacksonville State at FIU. FIU is giving 9.5, over under 58.5. I would make this Florida International by 22.5, total 62.5. I love Florida International giving the 9.5. That's easy. Jacksonville State stinks. I think that Butch Davis's team is going to come out and play well, and Jacksonville State won't play as well as they did against the Seminoles a couple weeks ago. So give me FIU minus 5.5 here, and they'll destroy Jacksonville State. Next up, you have Tulsa and South Florida. Tulsa's giving 11.5, over under 50.5. I'd make this Tulsa 3, total 50. I love South Florida getting the points. South Florida was competitive last week against Temple. And I think that they'll be competitive here against Tulsa. No, I don't expect them to win, but I expect them to cover the 11.5. Next up, UL Lafayette against UAB. ULL giving 2.5, over under 51.5. I would make this UAB as a 3-point favorite, total 46. I love UAB getting the 2.5. I think that they win the game on the field. They are plus 120 on the money line. So give me UAB plus 2.5 tonight against an overrated Louisiana team. And the Big Ten is back tonight. Illinois, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's giving 19.5, over under 51.5. I would make this Wisconsin 12, total 49. I'm going to take Illinois getting the 19.5. Expectations are high in Madison this year, and rightfully so. No fans in the stands in the Big Ten this year, and that's unfortunate. But Illinois was surprisingly decent last year. And no, I don't think they'll win this game. I just think that this is too high of a number. I'm getting a free touchdown here, basically, with Illinois. So, give me Illinois plus 19.5. But, of course, Wisconsin is going to win the game. All right, Saturday. Auburn at Ole Miss. Auburn giving 3.5, over under 7.5. I would make Auburn 9.5, total 64. So you would think I'd take Auburn, but I'm not falling for that stupid trap again. Bo Nix is terrible. He's the most overrated player in college football. I'm taking the under as my play here, 70.5. That's a lot. Especially with Bo Nix as one of the quarterbacks. Come on. Like I said, I project the total to be 64. So I have a slightly bigger edge on the under than I do on Auburn. It's going to be under 70.5, I think. My numbers are suggesting Auburn. I hate it. I really hate it. I want to badly pick Ole Miss. But I'm not. I'm going to take the under. And I could see this being like a 35-27 type of ball game here. Next up, you have Louisville hosting Florida State. Louisville's giving 4.5, over under 16.5. I would make Florida State favorites by 1, total 54. I love Florida State getting the 4.5. I think they win the game outright. They're plus 164 on the money line. So give me the Seminoles of Florida State to not only cover the 4.5, but to win the game outright. Next up, Georgia Southern at Coastal Carolina. Coastal's giving 6.5, over under 51.5. I would make this actually Georgia Southern 8.5 total 55. I'm taking Georgia Southern plus the 6.5 and plus 198 on the money line. So give me Georgia Southern plus the 6.5, and I think they win the game on the field. Next up is Kansas State. Kansas State giving 19.5 over under 48.5. I would make this 11 and 55.5. So, I'm actually going to take the over for my play for this game. I just don't trust Kansas to cover. They covered in some spots last week against West Virginia. I would take them plus the points, but no. Give me over 48.5. 30-20 gets it to me. Even 35-17 gets it to me. If it's similar to the West Virginia game from last week from a Kansas perspective, then it's a winner. Next up, you have Mercer at Army. Army giving 30.5 over under 49.5. I'd make Army by 28 and the total at 50. Give me Mercer plus the points. I hate this only because I don't have such a big edge. It's only a 2-point edge, but that's what I got. North Carolina State at North Carolina. North Carolina giving 15.5 over under 59.5. I make this North Carolina by 4.5 total, 61.5. Love NC State. They've been unbelievable to me all year. I think that they cover that easily, but UNC will win. Next up, Oklahoma TCU. Oklahoma's giving 6.5 over under 58.5. I would make Oklahoma 2.5 total, 67. I love the over. Love it. Absolutely love the over here in this game. I think that's going to hit easily here. So give me Oklahoma TCU over 58.5. And I do think TCU probably covers 6.5 as well. And I don't know who actually wins. If at gunpoint, probably Oklahoma. And I don't like that. Next up, Syracuse at Clemson. Clemson giving a whopping 46.5 over under 61.5. I'd make this Clemson by 15, total 55. I think this is an overreaction to the Georgia Tech game, meaning this line. I like Syracuse getting all the points. That's just too big of a number. Maybe Syracuse backdoors them late, but I just think that's too big, as bad as Syracuse is. Next up, Temple Memphis. Temple is getting 12.5 over under 69.5. I love Temple getting the points. It was 13.5 yesterday. Went down a point. I still like it. I project Memphis to be favored by 7.5 in the total 67.5. So give me Temple here getting the points, although I expect Memphis to win. UTEP Charlotte. Charlotte's giving 14.5 over under 48.5. I would make Charlotte by 5.5 total, 47.5. I'm taking UTEP in the points. I hate it. UTEP stinks, but it's the side, I think. Nebraska, Ohio State. Ohio State giving a whopping 26.5 over under 68.5. I would make Ohio State 15 total, 57. I like the under here. I think that Ohio State's defense can step up and make some plays to make sure this goes under. And I do like Nebraska to cover 26.5 as well. I could see this being 40-20, and I still win. Nebraska covers, and it goes under. I'm going to call it right now, 40-20, Ohio State. Next up, you got in the 1 o'clock window, Southern Miss Liberty. Liberty giving 13.5 over under 60.5. I would make Liberty favored by 3.5 total, 61. I love Southern Miss getting the points. It was 11.5 yesterday. Went up 2 points for whatever reason. I think people are reacting to Liberty beating Syracuse, and I've been pro Liberty this year on a lot of their games, but not here. I think they're overvalued here. So give me Southern Miss getting the points, although I expect Liberty to win. 2 o'clock, Tulane at UCF. UCF's giving a whopping 18.5 over under 70.5. I'd make UCF 10, total 71. I love Tulane getting the points. I think that they could backdoor at the end. I could see a world where UCF wins like 45 to 20, like 45 to 30, 45-27. And that would be 18, like just inside the cover line. Next up, 2:30 FAU Marshall. Marshall giving 16.5 over under 50.5. I project Marshall to be favored by 2.5, total 39. I love FAU getting the points and I love the under, but I think FAU getting the points is more valuable here. FAU's not a bad team. Marshall's just awesome this year, and they're overvalued in a bunch of their games this year. I expect Marshall to win, but I think FAU will cover. 3:30 Alabama, Tennessee. Alabama giving 21.5 over under 65.5. I'd make this game Bama 10, total 62.5. I love Tennessee getting the points. I think that they're better than what they showed against Georgia and against Kentucky. I hate their quarterback, Garantano, but maybe they make a quarterback change and are competitive a little bit with Bama, like how Ole Miss was. So give me Tennessee plus 21.5, and I do think Alabama will obviously win the game easily. Next up, Baylor, Texas. Texas giving 9.5 over under 60.5. I project Texas to be favored by 3.5 total, 65. I love Baylor getting to 9.5. I just think that Texas is extremely overvalued because they're Texas and they have a big-name coach. But that big-name coach really isn't all that special. I'm sorry. I think Texas will probably win the game, but they're overvalued here ridiculously. Houston, Navy. Talk about overvalued. Houston's giving 14.5 over under 55.5. I project Navy to be favored by 7 and the total to be 62. I love Navy getting the points, and I love them on the money line too. They're plus 490. I think they win the game outright. I like the over 50. Oh, it went up to 55.5. Oh well, but I like that over too. But the play here is Navy plus the points. I think that, quite frankly, Navy should be favored here. Navy's really a better team than given credit for. And Houston's just overvalued and overrated. Did anybody not watch them blow that game against BYU last week? Next up, Iowa State, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State giving 3.5 over under 51.5. I would make this where's that line? I make this Iowa State 2.5, total 47. I'm taking the Clones plus the 3.5 plus the money line at 138. I just think that Iowa State's really good. Oklahoma State is the darlings of the Big 12 because they're undefeated, and that's their last hope for the playoff unless they get a one-loss team in there. So give me Iowa State getting the 3.5. Worst case scenario, they lose by 3 or on a game-ending field goal. But I like them to win the game outright, so give me them on the money line as well. Next up, Middle Tennessee at Rice. Rice is giving 3.5 over under 50.5. Rice is playing their first game. I project Middle Tennessee to actually be favored by 3.5 in the total, 53.5. I'm taking Middle Tennessee in the points. And I'm taking them plus 148 on the money line. Rice stinks. Middle Tennessee stinks too, but I was always told if it's two horrible teams, take the points. Notre Dame, Pitt. Notre Dame's giving 9.5 over under 42.5. I would make Notre Dame favored by 11. And the total to be 46.5. I actually like the over here. I've been on Notre Dame unders a lot this year, including last week, but not this week. I like the over here for them. Like 23-20 wins. 27-20 wins. 30-17 wins. 30-13 wins. I think Notre Dame wins the game, but I think the over is the play here, 42.5. Next up, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest. Virginia Tech's giving 9.5 over under 68.5. Virginia Tech came back and bit me in the ass last week as I bet against them and took Boston College, and Wake bit me in the ass last week because I bet against them and took Virginia, and they kicked ass. So I'm taking Virginia Tech minus the points. I'm going back to the well with the Hokies here. I project Vatech to be favored by 15.5 and the total 69. So I feel like I'm getting a lot of value here with Vatech. Next up, Iowa, Purdue. Iowa giving 2.5 over under 52.5. I'd make Iowa 6, total 47.5. I love Iowa minus the 2.5, and I also love the under, but I feel better about the under because I think that there's a chance that Purdue wins this game. So give me under 52.5 is the play here, although I like Iowa to cover as well. And the juice is on Iowa. That's another big reason I'm taking the under for here because I think this goes up to 3. Penn State, Indiana. Penn State is giving 5.5 over under 61.5. I would make this Penn State 9, total 51.5. I love the under in this Penn State game. It's 61.5. And I have a big edge on the under. So podcast play is going to be the under. I wanted it to be Penn State minus the 5.5, which I like too, but I'm going to go with the under 61.5, rather to be safe than sorry here. 4 o'clock, Chattanooga, Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky, 14.5 over under 53.5. I make Western Kentucky 13.5, total 53.5. So I have a little edge on Chattanooga. I hate it. I'm taking Chattanooga plus the points. Next up, Georgia State, Troy. Troy giving 2.5 over under 68.5. I would make Troy 8.5, total 68. I love Troy. Love it. I had Troy a couple weeks ago. They did me a favor. I love them here too. Georgia Tech, Boston College. Boston College giving 3.5 over under 54.5. I would make this BC 11, total 55.5. Everybody loves Georgia Tech as like a bounce back candidate team, but they suck. They really suck. They took advantage of an overrated Louisville team, and they got destroyed by the best team in America in college football. So, give me Boston College minus 3.5. And this is a bounce back opportunity for them. Kentucky, Missouri. Kentucky giving 4.5 over under 47.5. I'd make this UK 1.5, total 53.5. I love the over here. I think that Missouri and Kentucky are both better offensively than given credit for. I think that Kentucky could score defensive touchdowns too. I do like Missouri a little bit getting the points, but I like the over much better. I have a huge edge on the over. Next up, 5:30, West Virginia, Texas Tech. WVU is giving 3.5 over under 54.5. I would make this WVU by 5 and the total 57.5. So I'm pretty close, but I'm going to take the over here. I think West Virginia's offense got into a rhythm last week against Kansas. And Texas Tech is pretty good offensively as well. I think this game could be played into the 60s. I think West Virginia probably wins the game. But I'm going to say over 54.5 for my pick here. 7 o'clock, Louisiana Monroe, South Alabama. South Alabama giving 15.5, over under 56.5. I project USA by 5.5 total, 51. I love UL Monroe getting the points. UL Monroe bit me in the ass a couple times this year, but I like them here to cover against USA. Next up, South Carolina, LSU. LSU giving 5.5, over under 54.5. I'd project LSU to be favored by 5, total 62. I love the over here. Love it. Huge edge on the over. LSU is really good offensively, and they stink defensively. And I think that South Carolina showed a little something offensively last week against Auburn. And just see what they can do against a bad LSU defense. So give me over 54.5, and I think LSU probably wins the game. Utah State, Boise State. Boise State giving 16.5, over under 53.5. Now we're talking about Mountain West, and that's a wonderful thing. I project Boise to be 3-point favorites, total 53.5. I'm going to take Utah State getting to 16.5. I think that Boise's overvalued because they're a name school. And I think Utah State can be competitive. No, I don't think Utah State will win. But I just think that this is a closer game than this number suggests. Next up, Wyoming, Nevada. Wyoming giving 3.5, over under 50.5. I project Wyoming to be giving 3, total 48.5. I like the under, but I don't love the under. It's 50.5. I project it to be 48.5. I just think that Wyoming's a good defensive team. And Nevada's a good offensive team and a bad defensive team, but I believe in Wyoming's defense enough to keep this under the total. Although I don't love the play, but that was the best choice for me with the options. Next up, Hawaii, Fresno State. Fresno State's giving 3.5, over under 65.5. I project Fresno to be favored by 7, and the total 62. I'm laying it with Fresno here. Hawaii can score. I just think that Fresno's a little bit better. And I think that they're in for a bounce back year this year. So give me Fresno State minus the 3.5 here against Hawaii. And that is a 7:30 game. Maryland, Northwestern. Northwestern giving 10.5, over under 54.5. I project this Northwestern by 3, total 48. Give me the under. I like Maryland too, but the play here is going to be the under. I feel better for Maryland if the Tagovailoa brother will start, but that's an uncertain at this point, as the coach wouldn't reveal the starter. But I do like the under. I think Northwestern's offense is inept, so I feel like the under is a safer bet here. 7:30 ABC, Michigan, Minnesota. Game day's there. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Chris Felica, and Maria Taylor on the call, and Tom Rinaldi. Michigan favored by 2.5, over under 54.5. I project Michigan to be favored by 9 in the total 54. I love Michigan laying the 2.5. Love it. But I'm just not going to get it at the moment. It probably will go up to 3. And that's when I'll jump on, because laying it, the juice is on it, minus 124. And plus 2.5 for Minnesota is plus 102. So give me Michigan minus 2.5. I'll probably take it to if and when it goes up to 3. 8 o'clock, Louisiana Tech, UTSA. L Tech is laying 1.5, over under 53.5. I project La Tech to be favored by 8, and the total will be 55.5. I love La Tech minus 1.5. UTSA is improved this year, but I just don't like them here. So give me Louisiana Tech minus the 1.5. Next up, Virginia, Miami. Miami's laying 13.5 over under 57.5. I project Miami 16.5 total 59.5. I'm laying it with the Canes. I don't love it, but I just think they're better than the Wahoos. So give me Miami minus 13.5. And it's a 3-point differential. 9 o'clock, Cincinnati, SMU. Cincinnati, I have getting 2.5, total 55.5. But I project Cincinnati to be giving 1.5, and the total 51. I don't love this pick, but I'm going to take the under 55.5. Cincinnati's defense, I think, can stop SMU a little bit. And I do like Cincinnati plus a 2.5 and plus 116 on the money line, but the play here for the show is going to be 55.5 under. 10:15 ESPN, Texas State BYU. BYU laying 28.5 over under 60.5. I project BYU 21.5 and the total 57.5. I'm going to take the Bobcats. I'm getting a touchdown of value here. So give me Texas State plus 28.5. Next up, Air Force, San Jose State. Air Force is giving 7.5 over under 62.5. I project Air Force by 8, total 55. I love the under here. Air Force played some good defense against Navy the other day, but San Jose State was surprisingly okay last year, but I think they regress. Air Force, I think, wins the game, but I would going total under 62.5. Last but not least, in college football, you got UNLV and San Diego State. San Diego State's laying 14.5 over under 48.5. I project San Diego State to be giving 6, total 45. I'm taking UNLV plus the 14.5. I think that's too big of a line, as much as I love San Diego State. So give me UNLV plus the points, but I do obviously think that San Diego State will win the game. Now we'll move on to the World Series. Game number 3 tonight between the Rays and the Dodgers. You have Charlie Morton against Walker Buehler. Dodgers minus 154, Rays plus 134, total 7.5. Overs minus 106, under minus 114. Rays run line minus 126 at plus 1.5. Dodgers run line minus 1.5 at plus 108. I like the over. I don't feel super about it. I've been on the Rays train the first 2 games, but I like Walker Buehler a lot, and I like Charlie Morton a lot, and how they've been in the playoffs. But I think the over is really valuable here. I could see this being a 5-3 win for either side. So give me over 7.5. I just like the value here at minus 106 for the over in this game. Now we'll preview the NASCAR races for the weekend and pick them. First up is the Xfinity race tomorrow afternoon in Texas, the O'Reilly Auto Parts 300. In your starting lineup, Chase Briscoe, Justin Haley, Brandon Jones, Ryan Sieg, Justin Allgaier, Ross Chase, and Austin Cindric, Jed Burton, Noah Gragson, Michael Annett, Brett Moffitt, Harrison Burton, Josh Williams, Austin Hill, Brandon Brown, Jeremy Clements, Tommy Joe Martins, Anthony Alfredo, Riley Herbst, Alex Labe, Jeffrey Earhart, Matt Snyder, David Starr, Bailey Curry, Timmy Hill, Matt Mills, Jesse Little, Joe Graff Jr., Cody Vanderwall, BJ McClay, and Ryan Vargas, Jesse Iwuji, Colby Howard, CJ McLaughlin, Stephen Leake, and Kyle Weatherman. I'm going to look up the odds on DraftKings really quickly for this because I like their NASCAR odds better than FanDuel's. And I like to bet on pure value. And I'm going to go Justin Haley, 18-1. That's ridiculous. He's had a good year. And everybody loves Chase Briscoe right now. He just got promoted to the Cup Series for next year, which is big for him. So, I think he's overvalued. Austin Cindric's overvalued as well. But I love Justin Haley, 18-1. I would take a real shot at that, and I think he's going to win the race. I know he's starting in second, and picking the second place starter isn't always ideal, but I just like that pick based on pure value. And now over to the truck race, which is Sunday before the Cup race. So Sheldon Creed, Brett Moffitt, Austin Hill, Grant Effinger, Chandler Smith, Jane Smith, Matt Crafton, Ben Rhodes, Tyler Ankrum, Christian X, Derek Krause, Todd Gilliland, Trevor Bayne, Ryan Truex, Johnny Sauter, Tyler Hill, Tate Fogelman, Austin Wayne Salt, Danny Bone, Raphael Lessard, Stuart Friesen, Spencer Boyd, Tanner Gray, Clay Greenfield, Jordan Anderson, Dawson Cram, Natalie Decker, Chase Purdy, Dylan Lupton, Ray Cicerelli, Jennifer Jo Cobb, Josh Belicki, Tim Vaines, Josh Rumi, Norm Benning, James Boucher, and Trey Hutchins III. Alrighty, in terms for this race, I'm going to go with somebody that is also 18-1, as is Justin Haley in the other race. I'm going to go Chandler Smith. He is starting in the 5th position, and I think that's a good number. I just do. So give me Chandler Smith, 18-1, to win the truck race. And last but not least, 3:45 on NBC, the Cup race, the Auto Trader EchoPart Automotive 500. Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, William Byron, Austin Dillon, Eric Almirola, Matt DiBenedetto, Chris Bell, Cole Custer, Eric Jones, Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick, Chris Buescher, Clint Boyer, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Michael McDowell, John Hunter Nemechek, Ryan Newman, Jimmy Johnson, Ty Dillon, Corey LaJoie, Ryan Preece, Daniel Suarez, Brennan Poole, Matt Kenseth, J.J. Yeley, Quinn Houff, Reed Sorensen, Timmy Hill, Josh Belicki, Garrett Smedley, Joey Gase, and Chad Fincham. Oof. Should be a good race. Harvick's obviously the favorite, plus 240. I'm going to go with somebody that I think is undervalued here. He's 10-1, and that's Martin Truex Jr. He's had some good history at Texas in the past, and getting him at double-digit odds I think is really valuable. So give me Martin Truex Jr. 10-1 to win the Cup race on Sunday. Now I'm going to talk a little debate from last night and go over the games that DraftKings and FanDuel respectively had. I'm going to start with DraftKings. This is debate pool. It's just silly questions on which presidential candidate will be the first to speak when walking to their podium. Donald Trump wound up speaking first. Which vice presidential candidate will be brought up first? None of them were, which is odd. I thought Kamala Harris would, but neither of them, I don't think, were. Which presidential candidate will interrupt the other first? I thought it'd be Donald Trump, and it was. The first topic. It wound up being COVID, and I thought it would be Supreme Court, as was last time. Which candidate will use the term pre-existing conditions first? Donald Trump or Joe Biden? I don't think I heard that phrase at all. I just don't recall hearing it. If anything, Donald probably would have said it. Who will be mentioned first by name by either candidate? Amy Coney Barrett, Ruth Bader Ginsburg? None of the above. I really don't remember. I don't think either of them were mentioned. If anything, maybe Ruth Bader was. I'm going to have to double check. I'm going to see if the game was up here in terms of no, that's what stinks about DraftKings, that so yeah, I can't find the thing for DraftKings, but at least FanDuel, they tell you what was correct. But yeah, I don't think either those women were mentioned. Which candidate will mention Dr. Fauci first? Trump, Biden, or neither? Trump mentioned him first. Which state will be mentioned first by either candidate? Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio, North Carolina, Michigan? None of the above. If I'm not mistaken, it was Pennsylvania, and that's what I thought it would be. So that was a correct pick in the game by me. And now to the FanDuel game, which they let you know how you did. First up, which presidential candidate will be wearing a red tie? I said Trump, and it was Trump. Who will mention Trump's COVID case first? Trump, Biden, moderator, none. I thought it'd be Biden, and wound up being Donald. How many times will Biden say the word man? I thought 3 or more, and he did. Which of the following will be said first by a candidate or moderator during the debate? Left wing, right wing, radical left, or none of the above. It wasn't radical left. It was, if I'm not mistaken, left wing, I believe was said. Next up, which candidate's microphone will the moderator mute first? I thought Trump's would have. It doesn't say it says a lock button. But I know they were both muted one time, and I know Trump's was by accident because they turned it right back on after they muted it. So I guess they're not going to count that one, and that's why it has a lock button on FanDuel and not a red or a green. Will Biden and or the moderator mention Trump Twitter activity, yes or no? I thought it'd be yes, and it was no, which is a surprise, and that's the same for the first debate as well. Which of the candidates will be seen wearing a mask during the debate from the first until the final question? Trump, Biden, both neither. Biden came out with a mask, but he didn't wear it the entire time. Will anybody say Walter Reed, yes or no? I thought no, and it was no. Will Biden call Trump a fool, clown, both or neither? I thought neither, and I was correct. Although he did, I believe he did the first debate, but he didn't this time. And which of the following people's name will be mentioned first during the debate? Melania Trump, Anthony Fauci, Amy Coney Barrett, Hillary Clinton, and I believe the last one was Hunter Biden. I thought it'd be Amy Coney Barrett, but it wound up being Anthony Fauci. So that's your debate recap on the show. Although I don't like talking politics on the show necessarily, but I just like to do predictions for fun, courtesy of FanDuel and DraftKings. Before I do best bet in Fab 5, there was an NFL trade yesterday. The Vikings traded away Yannick Ngakoue to the Jacksonville Jaguars for a 2021 third-round pick and a fifth-round pick. This is a surprise, and this is a good acquisition for the Ravens. The Ravens, it was a 2022 conditional fifth. This is a surprise to me, as I said. The Ravens were going after him before the Vikings wound up getting him. And now the Vikes got a 2020 second. The Jags got a 2021 second from the Minnesota Vikings and the 2022 conditional fifth. They get most back, but not all of it. My takeaways is that Baltimore knows that its pass rush was flawed against Kansas City, so that's why they picked him up, solely to help them get over the top. But not just against that Chiefs offense, but against the Steelers down the road as well, and potentially the Titans and the Bills. So they knew that they had to make a trade to help their pass rush. And meanwhile, for Minnesota, they're giving up on the year. Daniel Hunter is out for the season now. And now you have to wonder who else is on the table for Minnesota. Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen. I don't think any of those guys will be. But it's interesting to see if they do, because if they at least put Cousins out there, that puts them in the conversation, the tank for Trevor Lawrence. So we'll see what happens. Maybe Anthony Barr gets dealt, or Eric Kendricks, Harrison Smith. So there's a couple guys that I think can be had. I think their defensive guys have value. I think their offensive guys will have a lot of value too, but I don't think that they'll trade those guys. I think Justin Jefferson's a keeper, obviously. Alexander Madison's a keeper. I think those three guys that I mentioned, Cousins, Cook, and Thielen, will all be kept, but I think the defensive side of the ball is the side to look out for. Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr, Daniil Hunter, I think, is traded next year because I don't think they'll pay him, but you never know. And Harrison Smith. I think those three guys that I talked about are absolutely in play to be had, but we shall see. Now, Fab 5 and Best Bet. Fab 5 first, we'll start with the NFL. First up, Dallas, Washington over 47. I think this is a bounce-back game for the Dallas Cowboys offense. I think that they can score a lot of points on Washington. I think that Washington will score a little bit on the Dallas defense to make Kyle Allen look good and better than he did against the Giants and against the Rams. I was blanking on who they played a couple weeks ago. So give me over 47 for play number 1. Play number 2, Falcons, Lions over 54.5. I don't love it, but that's where I'm going to go. Broncos 9.5 against the Chiefs. Talked about it earlier. I think the Chiefs are overvalued here. It's a division home dog. Division home dogs normally thrive. Division dogs thrive, period, as we saw with the Giants last night at times. But that doesn't necessarily mean win. It just means cover. And I think the Broncos will cover the 9.5. 49ers 2.5 against the Patriots. I think the Patriots are overvalued. And I think that the Niners are undervalued. So give me 49ers getting the 2.5, and I think they win the game outright. And the last of the picks is being saved for Monday. And now on the college side of the Fab Five, Iowa State, or I'm sorry, wait, where did I go? Oh, NC State, not Iowa State. I knew it was somebody's state. NC State 15.5. That's been my baby all year. They've been wonderful to me. All I'm asking for them to do is cover 15.5. Georgia Southern 6.5 against Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina's ranked. I just love betting against the newly ranked team. So in that case, it's Coastal Carolina. So give me Georgia Southern 5 or 6.5, and I think that they have a good shot of winning the game outright as well. Troy 2.5 against Georgia State. Troy did me good a couple weeks ago. I believe in them again here. So give me Troy minus the 2.5 here against Georgia State. So I'm going with 2 Sun Belt games. And now I'm going to go with the total. South Carolina LSU over 54.5. That's ridiculous that that's that low. I think this is a no-brainer play here. So I'm going with a total for college in the Fab Five this week. And last but not least, my last pick and the money line pick of the week, Navy 14.5 and plus 490 on the money line. Navy at home, I love it. Houston's ridiculously overvalued. I love Navy getting the 14.5, and I'm taking a real shot at them plus 490 on the money line. And now my best bet of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. I'm going to take FIU here. I think that is ridiculously low. Jacksonville State's not that good. So give me FIU minus the 9.5. I know the juice is on them, but I'm paying the minus 115, but I'm laying it with FIU against Jacksonville State as my best bet of the day. That's it for the show. I'll be back Monday recapping college football and the NFL and the World Series. And obviously going to pick the Monday night game on Monday's podcast. Also, recap NASCAR from the weekend and talk about any other news that happens in the world of sports. Hope you guys have a great weekend, everyone.